All right. So, Brian, how these roll? Because this is your first time on one of my shows. I've been doing these since we closed. I think I told you a little bit about them. So, I had Sean Butler on last week, and been speaking to a couple of folks in our industry and outside of it, doing some just some different things because people are home and want to listen. And I remember last time I came to you guys. I forget when we visited you guys, but we had a conversation. I'm like, we should just record this stuff because it's good and people need to hear about it. So before we get started with the hangout today, I won't do a lot of introducing of my guest today because we're gonna ask him some questions, but I will tell you my first memory of Brian Quinlan here. For me, Bri, it was at CrossFit 215, and it was at the Beast. I think it was called the Beast of the East Throwdown, and it was at CrossFit 215. And what what I noticed about you is, number one, you were an absolute animal. Number two, you kind of looked, and I'll ask you what sports what sports you played, but I was like, he kind of looks like this badass rugby dude. And I watched you work out, and I'm into exercise science, and I'm like, this dude can move. And then I remember we got to the last workout, and I'll remember this because I actually, in my head, I beat you in this workout. And the only
Yeah.
reason I beat you is because you didn't know how to do kipping pull-ups yet. And you were banging out this work. It was like thrusters, burpees, and pull-ups, and you were dead hanging these things. And my only saving grace was that I was able to kip pull-ups, and I actually came out of that work and I'm like, damn, I beat that dude. And just so everyone knows from the record, I haven't come close. And the only way I know Brian's his workout capacity is from following him in the open, and I can't even come close. So that was my one thing that I remember Brian for, and nowadays he's just a step above. Even, how old are you, Bri?
43.
43, and dude is an animal. The other thing I noticed is sometimes you look at someone and you have this assumption of what the personality would be like, and I'm sure a lot of people have that of me. Most people think I'm an ass, and then they realize that's either the truth or they're completely wrong. But Brian was a cool dude, and he was like a dude that that I can relate to, and I consider him, even though we don't talk a lot, I consider him one of my friends in the industry, and we've known each other for a really really long time. Brian is the owner of CrossFit Explode, and that's in Westchester, and he's been to the CrossFit Games both as an individual and as a team. He's trained around a lot of good athletes. He's a good athlete himself. He's trained a lot of good athletes, and he's competed against a lot of good athletes. And I have him on my show today. So, Bride, I want to first thank you for coming out today, dude. I appreciate it. I'm sorry we didn't get to connect initially, but it's truly a pleasure to have you on. I can't wait to start digging into some questions. I just I think people want to know just a little background, bring me up to getting into CrossFit. Bring me like what sports, and then bring me how you found CrossFit, how you started, how you opened your gym. Bring me through that process. So the listeners that are listening now, because the way these roll is I do have this as an open Zoom room. So occasionally people will pop in, take a listen. Most people listen after the fact, after I upload it to YouTube. But fill us in up to finding CrossFit and opening up your affiliate.
All right, cool. So kind of a long story, but I'll make it as brief as I can and relative. Um, so played sports obviously since high school, since I was little, and played them at a pretty high level, whatever it was that I was playing. Actually got into rugby. It's funny you mentioned rugby, but got into rugby my senior year of high school and fell in love with it. I played football a lot, and I was young playing on this men's club team, and these are all old guys, and I was 17, 18 years old playing with these guys, and I took a liking to all these guys and took a really liking to the sport. And I had offers to play football at college, and I took an offer, but then ended up playing rugby instead. and traveled around the world a little bit playing rugby, played with some pretty high-level teams, and just loved it, loved the sport. Intermittently mixed in there, I was boxing since I was in high school as well, and I would train and take amateur fights here and there. And for rugby and for the boxing, I wanted to be in good shape. I wanted to stay in condition, and I wanted it to be relative to what the demand was, what the the physiological demand was of those sports. So with that, I did a lot of stuff that was similar to CrossFit. And back then, that we're talking about like 90s, like late 90s and then early 2000s is when I was really trying to do that stuff and compete at a high level. So I don't think there was much of that stuff going on, but I wanted to run really fast. I wanted to be able to run for a while, and I wanted to be able to lift as heavy as possible, and I wanted to be able to do all that at the same time. So naturally, after working at a couple gyms and training people and training rugby teams and training athletes and just training regular people, you want to find the best practices, and that search of the best practices led me naturally down the path to find CrossFit. Ended up linking up with a buddy of mine, Keith Bussum from Apex, who I played rugby with at one point at Kutztown University. And he already had a gym up and running. So I was like, man, I got to come check this out. Went and checked it out, and I was sold. And at the time, I had a gym. It was a mom and pop gym that I bought from a couple guys that weren't having a good go at it. And just kind of natural progress from there, man. I think I was an athlete, so I like to compete. And now the training philosophy and principle that I took on in CrossFit, it just made sense to compete at it and have fun and see where you can go with it. I loved it.
Yeah. Where did you go to school? Kutztown.
So originally I went on a football scholarship to California University of Pennsylvania. I think I was there for a semester, came home, worked at a gym, played rugby. We started playing rugby at California University of Pennsylvania. I played rugby in high school, worked, came home, worked, and played rugby. Traveled around a little bit, went to Ireland, and played rugby over there. And then Kutztown offered me a scholarship to go there and go to school. So went there for a couple of years and played rugby there for a couple of years.
What did you study while at Kutztown?
Kutztown, I studied criminal justice for the 2 years that I was there. Ended up partying a little bit too much and having too much fun. I worked a lot and didn't really do a whole lot of school. Ended up getting hurt and playing rugby. And came home and ended up going to Westchester University and finished up with exercise physiology.
Gotcha. Westchester had an excellent program too for exercise science. I went to Stroudsburg, and a lot of those state schools were like some of the top in the game as far as exercise science. I mean, I remember going to school. I didn't even realize my school was on the map for exercise science until I got out of school, and then realized it was. And the same thing with Westchester, going around to the NSCA conferences and realizing all the faculty from Westchester that would end up presenting and stuff. So they had a really, really legit program.
Yeah, they did. And that's why I ended up going there. And ended up going there and just happened to be at the maturity level to really stick it out with school and do well with school.
Yeah. So as soon as you got out of school, you were working like as a strength coach, personal trainer, ended up getting the gym pretty early on.
So my last year of school, I was training at this gym that two guys I know opened up. It was a smaller gym, all like hammer strength equipment, like a lot of selectorized machines.
Oh yeah,
like a mom and pop,
yeah,
almost like Snap Fitness, but a little bit more. So I was training people there, and ended up getting to know the two guys that owned it, and they were looking to offload the gym, and just kind of raised my hand and said, "I'll take it."
Yeah. How so when you went into Keith's gym, I didn't know you guys. I knew you guys were close and you knew each other. I didn't know that you guys had known each other prior to this CrossFit world. Do you remember going into his gym the first time and like your thoughts when you walked in there? Like, have you ever been in a gym like that before? Or was that your first exposure into like the box type gym?
That was my first exposure to the box type gym, and it was perfect, man. It was just back then too. I think it was Josh and Tanya. At first, it was Josh and Tanya's garage, and then they
Mm-hmm.
moved to this other location. It was this rundown building in the middle of nowhere, and it was just like, man, we've been doing it wrong, trying to put some fluff on this for so long.
Do you remember what the workout was that you had to do? I remember mine. I remember how I got involved in CrossFit. Do you remember what the workout was?
So I messed around with a bunch of workouts before I actually went to a gym and did a workout at the gym. And the first workout that I did was Grace. And, just looking into stuff, came across CrossFit and I saw one of the benchmark workouts with Grace. Tried that out. I was sold, man. And it looked into the next one. I was like, man, this is cool. They have something different all the time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I remember my first workout. Actually, my first exposure into CrossFit was through Barry Widener at CrossFit Generation. And he had a really small 800 square foot gym. And I went in there, and I remember doing Helen. That was the workout I had to do that day. And every first that you could have been exposed to in a CrossFit gym, I got it. I ripped my hands for the first time. I couldn't get up off the floor. I think I vomited. And I was like, damn, this is exactly what I need. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, I'm sold. But CrossFit, and we'll get back into this later, but CrossFit's come so far from when me and you got into it. And like, as far as like the programming, what the gym structure looks like. And now I kind of feel like it's going back to like normal people. Let's get some normal people doing CrossFit, because CrossFit turned into, I'm sure you experienced this, or you maybe probably programmed this when you first opened up, is we go in and we do 1 6-7 minute Metcon, but we'd spend some time training it. You know what I mean? We learn the movements, we explain the workout, we go through some technique issues, go through some scaling, and then we do the workout. CrossFit turned into something else. It turned into like everyone thought they were a competitor.
Ooh,
So with that being said, so I've been to your facility you have now. It's absolutely enormous. So anyone that's a Newtown listener, if you think our gym is big now, we have 4,750 square feet. Brian, what are you at? 8,000, 7,000? What?
Almost 8,000.
Almost 8,000. Yeah, he's got a huge gym. Your gym, what gym is that for you? Number 3 or number 2 for moving?
It's our third one.
Where'd you start at? How big was it?
So we started about 800 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we carved out a little spot in that one gym.
Gotcha.
About 800 feet. And then from there we jumped pretty fast to 5,000 square feet. That was like a huge risk, but it ended up working out.
Mm-hmm.
And then through that too. But
were all your gyms in close proximity? Because you were always in Westchester, right?
They've all been in real close proximity.
Yeah. Random thought that popped in my head as I'm looking around my basement, aka my studio. I have a pair of boxing gloves, 16-ounce boxing gloves that just came in the mail 2 days ago. Because about 2 weeks ago, since we've been home, I bought a punching bag. And I've been hitting it, man.
Okay.
Just jabs. That's it, man. And dude, it's a workout, man. It's fun because we're home right now, right? So I'm hitting the bag, and I'm doing it in small spurts. Like, I'm doing like, all right, I'll go downstairs for 10 minutes. I'll hit like I'll hit a couple light jabs. I'll warm up, and then I'll hit like 1 jab, 2 jabs, 3 jabs, and I'll try to get faster with. I'll do left hand, then I'll do right hand, and I'll do it like every 2 minutes or so, take a breather. But man, that is hard, dude. Like,
I'll tell you what, man, one of the most humbling experiences I've ever had as far as a strength and conditioning thing is being in a fight, like being in specifically a boxing match for the first time. I will never forget the weakness that I felt.
mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter how tough you are, how unbelievably good shape you are, if you don't know what you're doing and you're scared at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
you are unbelievably weak and a victim.
Yeah.
And I never wanted to feel that again. So
Uh-huh.
you know what I mean? You practice, and eventually you don't feel that way anymore. But as far as conditioning goes, and I've always done it with like a couple of the guys that are competitors at the gym. I'll put the gloves on. I'll make like a little makeshift ring, and I'll tell them, oh, you gotta fight your way out, and kind of mess with them. And never, of course, never, ever, ever would I hurt them.
Yeah.
But make them think I was gonna enough to like make them work hard and
So so you're good enough to just play with them.
yeah. So it's the equivalent of not knowing how to swim, never experiencing being in water, and then someone throwing you in water and telling you to survive. Like, you feel like it's a fight for your life. You have no idea what you're doing. You hurt. You think you're gonna, like, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. And here's the thing. I mean, I'm throwing like a normal. If you were to get into a street fight, you're talking about maybe 2 to 5 punches get thrown before the fight ends. All right. Either you're gonna hurt someone, or you get to the ground, or someone breaks up the fight. In a boxing match, you gotta throw more punches. So I'm hitting the bag and I'm throwing way more than 2 to 3 punches, and it's like I couldn't even imagine being in a boxing match.
Here's what you know, and what you know is that you become efficient at movements that you rehearse over and over and over.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you rehearse that movement over and over and over, the more proficiency and efficient you become.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You
Oh
do
yeah.
it the first time, and 5 pull-ups is going to smoke you.
Yeah.
But then you efficient at it. You start to butterfly pull-ups. You start to breathe while you're doing pull-ups.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're really efficient, and you're doing 50 in a row.
Yeah.
So the difference is, like, you watch these guys that are boxing at a professional level. These guys are really, really, really extremely proficient. That's why you can see someone who's basically a poo body, but they can box 12 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, you're extremely proficient at your movement because that's your craft.
Oh yeah.
But, yeah, like, you watch, you'll hit that bag for a little bit, and what you used to do is nowhere near what you do.
Yeah, and I want to say I just got my boxing gloves delivered yesterday. And so yesterday, of course, Amazon delivered them because Amazon is on point right now. So as soon as they got here, man, I put them on. I went downstairs, and to tell you the truth, when I pick up some, I don't want to just hit the bag. So I've been watching some videos, and I'm like, all right, if I got into a street fight, no way would I be throwing any kind of proficient punches. So I'm gonna strictly work on my jab. That's it, right? And what's that?
Punch you can develop.
It is, because I learned what an offensive and defensive strategy jab is, right? It is, right? So you see, I've been watching videos right now.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Dude, I'm not just going half-ass into it, man. I'm like, I'm really trying to do it.
You better get a fight soon.
Are you still hitting the bag in your personal exercise regime?
Well, funny you just said that, because since we've been closed, I've had this dusty old bag sitting in the corner that I don't want to hang up when people are there, because I just don't want people whacking away at it. It's what we're trying to do. So I never hang it up, and it's been hung up the whole quarantine. I've been hitting it.
Yeah, because I mean, honestly, if you don't hit that thing right, you're gonna hurt your hand. If you're not punching correctly and you don't have gloves on, for the average person that wants to take a whack at it, like, you're gonna hurt your hand, and you're gonna hurt your wrist. You're gonna hurt your hand, especially because a lot of people just don't know how to throw a punch.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
sure. It's like you get hurt doing a clean and jerk.
Yeah. Oh, for sure, definitely. So how about since when did you guys shut down your gym with the whole COVID virus thing going on?
I think it was March 23rd.
Yeah, same here. I think that was a Thursday night.
Yeah,
I think it was. That was the same thing with us. We waited to the end there, and we closed down March 23rd. What's the status of your business now? What have you guys been doing the last 40 something days of quarantine?
Yeah, so it's kind of evolved, right? Like it's evolved a little bit for people. I know off the bat the at-home workouts were unique and everybody was doing them, and then I was like, all right, this isn't working great. So I lent out all the equipment in the gym: the bikes, the skiers, the rowers, the barbells, the plates, everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a lot of people with, kind of like mix and match equipment that I was trying to program for, and I've been trying to throw out as many programs as I can, changing them up for the equipment that people had. But I don't feel like it's working very well. And the overall consensus that I get is that people aren't in shape. They're not putting as much emphasis on being in shape. And it's kind of the motivation's lost a little bit.
Yeah, and it's crazy, right? Because I look at this whole crisis shit in a different lens. I'm looking at it is what I'm trying to preach to my athletes and everyone that I'm around, even my family members, is this virus is the chance for a reset, right? If you never really took care of yourself before, what else are you doing right now? Just focus on shit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? If you're bad at pull-ups, get an iron gym, start doing dead hangs every day. If you're bad at push-ups, let's do that. And we're running the Zoom classes. We're running Zoom classes, and we're having a pretty good go at it. I think we got in early on, and we I mean, we were, I don't know what your feelings towards, we lent out and rented out equipment. So, people have a couple things at home. So we've been using some dumbbells, kettlebells, a couple people have barbells and stuff. But for me, I want to know your thoughts on this. I think the at-home training for me personally is refreshing for someone that's been in the competitive environment in CrossFit for so long, and I have the scars and wounds to prove it, as I'm sure you do too. I find that the stuff we're doing now, like, we are doing more push-ups. We're not doing an obnoxious amount of push-ups, but we're doing more push-ups. You know what I mean? We're doing a little more running, not an obnoxious amount, but it's things like, I like to call them like foundational skills. Like, we got people coming in that all of a sudden want to do these ring dips, right? But they can't even do a proper push-up. Like, the push-up is terrible. So, like, I'm finding it refreshing for myself, because I'm getting to work on things, some weaknesses that I didn't really pay attention to the gym because I want to do whatever the gym was doing, So, like, what do you think about the at-home body weight workouts? I mean, do you see some value in them, or do you just see there's something that we're just passing the time with?
The value in the at-home workouts is in variation. So we've been doing the stuff with the barbells, the stuff with the rig for so long. And like you said, even if you're not a competitor and you've just been doing CrossFit for so long, you've been doing a lot of the same stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff isn't in that's not part of the principles and the methodology that we took on. It's variation.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Variation means in the environment that you're in, variation in the people you're around, variation in the modalities, variation in the stimulus, everything, variation. So the at-home workouts is a great variation piece. It's, in my opinion, it's lasted too long as a piece, and it's time to vary it again to grow a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Back when you were up, I think it was in the summer when you guys came up, we were talking a little bit, and we kind of touched on that, like the evolution of CrossFit.
Yeah.
And I try to push, and I hope it gets through to the people that go to my gym and even the competitors in my facility. We're not trying to push each other to do these hardcore workouts, to do multiple workouts every day. I'd rather see people be more accommodating. Today it used to be like, oh, you can't do pull-ups? Come on, pussy. Like, just do the pull-ups, do the work. You know what I mean? It was all based off of that stuff. Away from that whole, like, oh, come on, like, you should, and just, oh, do what's best for you. Do what's best for you. Like, yeah, do the workout with a group of people, because that's motivating, and that's why we come and we do this stuff. But make sure you change up and you scale what's best for you, or if something's bothering you, that you change it up. Not so you can get a better score on the workout, not so you can fit other people, but just so we're accepting of that and we're understanding that, like, yeah, grinding against doing the same thing over and over and over isn't a good practice at all.
Yeah, no, I totally I couldn't agree with you more. And what I'm hoping with this whole thing, as far as the whole CrossFit community and people that enjoy doing CrossFit and enjoy doing timed workouts, I get it. That's the sexy part. But what are we all really in this for, right? Like 98% of us, we just want to look really good, right? We want to feel good and we want to look good. That's what we want to do. And I think we got so caught up, and I just like changed over the last year or two. But I would say I got so caught up in like doing what was on the board, doing it that way. And I got lucky enough that I could do it, right? But what kind of example was that setting for other people?
You don't do it long, right? We find that they don't do it long. That even if they can do it, maybe they can't do it very long. And then what are we doing? They got to go away, right? We're all saying you got to do this. You got to do what's on the board. You got to do. You got to fight and push yourself and try to get RX, or else. And then they just end up doing or else. They
Yeah.
go. So that's the part. That's the evolution that I'm saying is like
Mm-hmm.
whatever's written on that board. I mean, we used to always say, check your ego at the door. Let's all do that. Like, I've got to do that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And my ego at the door. There's just some things that if I do, I'm going to be in more pain over the next couple of days than I prefer to be in. That's going
Yeah.
to me being consistent with workout. And I don't want to sacrifice that.
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah, totally right. And you know, so I mean, I really hope this is like a refresher to some people, like exercising for the sake of exercising and being in the moment. Also, I don't know, I get this feeling sometimes when I'm working out by myself, and sometimes I'll take my classes on the screen in a coach class, and so I'm in there, and I kind of get this like old feeling like when I was in high school, like doing workouts at my house, like that mental working out by yourself, that mental toughness. You know, I'm going out like today. I think I may meet a few folks over at Tyler Park, and they got this nasty hill there, and they got this nasty hill that you can't even really run it. You got to walk it because that's how bad the hill is. And we're gonna throw on some vests and do like 10 trips, and that's probably gonna take like 45 minutes to do. And that stuff is good. It's like that stuff maybe we should have been adding in.
Well, yeah, man, you're getting back to the roots.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like we got stuck in the gyms doing only what you can do in the gyms, where we were scared as program that other shit outside, thinking that people weren't going to want to do that.
Yeah.
That they just wanted to do the gym. Meanwhile, the best to do that workout where you're just like, yo, let's grab a couple vests and run this hill. Fucking awesome. That's what it's all about. That's what it should be doing.
Yep.
Yo, get back to what you said when you're saying that 98% of us just want to look better. True. I think that's there.
Mm-hmm.
For me personally, and what I think for a lot of people as well, that's kind of changed is doing this stuff for as long as I have.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely need it mentally.
Oh yeah.
Like mentally, you know what I mean? Like I need to like push those limits and like and the only thing that does that for me is like having that little goal in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Like not that person. I don't, you don't care what their name is or who they are, but they just represent where you can be and what you should do.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah.
Get a little bit faster than you. It's not that you want to beat that person or you're competitive, but like I know if I can drive myself to push harder, then I get more of that mental stimulus.
Yeah.
I get more of that like that thing that sees me and feel. You know what I mean? Like that thing, whatever that thing is, like that's the constant pace.
You know, you're totally right, and the other thing is being with other people while you're doing it is also mentally stimulating and it's mentally pushing. And I go back to people, you know, that run 5Ks or run half marathons, and you'll pick someone, you don't know who they are, but you're picking someone and then you're passing them. So that kind of thing happens in the group model as well in our CrossFit gyms, that it just brings out the best in people, you know, and like, and we may not be the, oh, we're having some audio issues there. Did Brian just kick out? Brian's camera kicked out. There you are, dude.
I put myself on airplane mode.
You there? Uh-oh.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Brian.
All right, cool. Yeah, I think I had a...
Oh, hold on. You just came back in, so let me unmute you. Hold on, you're unmuted, so go ahead.
All right, cool. No, I think that what we're saying is that, like, there's something there in a weird way, almost spiritual, that you need, that feels good, that kind of, and the harder you push, the more you get out of it, and we all kind of pushing each other. That's what you need, you know. And like you said, it's not to beat the person next to you. The person next to you is just an avatar. It's a representation of what you could be and what you could do.
Oh, definitely.
And cool.
Let me so I posted, it's funny, I went on Facebook today, and I don't post much on my personal Facebook. I should more, like I should post on my Instagram more. But a picture came up of Logan, Ohio, and I instantly wanted to use it. So that was, I believe, was that your first experience with regionals, was Logan, Ohio?
Yeah, that was 2010, right?
Yeah,
That was not long after that winter challenge that you're talking about at 215.
exactly. And you so you competed in the KOP sectional and you were awarded a spot to go to Logan as an individual, correct?
Right.
What so
Yeah.
and it's crazy to think those workouts that you guys had to do there. And I had a similar conversation with Sean Butler on how those workouts that were for some of, I mean, we had Graham Holmberg there, we had Ben Smith there, we had yourself, we had Sean Butler, we had Dan Bailey at that one. And some of those workouts you guys were doing, your average CrossFitter is doing right now. Isn't that crazy? The rep schemes and like it's nuts how it's changed.
Wild. Yeah. So that's a thing. If you're a strength and conditioning professional, to see how far that's come. I remember sitting in exercise physiology, and my exercise physiology professor was he was some sort of head on in the NSCA, and I remember him saying that there's no way a human being will ever be able to, a male will ever be able to snatch over 300 pounds and run a sub 6 mile. That those two things can't exist in the same season.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, man, it's been thrown on its face pretty hard.
I think
man.
I think back then, because you guys did have or the teams had a snatch and you guys had a deadlift. When back then, if you were deadlifting in the 400s, that was pretty big, and that is a good number. If someone can relatively deadlift 400, you're pretty strong, you know. But when the guys that were deadlifting 500 was like eye opening, right? It's like no one was doing that. All those guys are doing that now.
And just ran a 5K in the woods.
I remember, you know, and I wanted to ask you specifically about your training because I remember I was also friendly with the Apex crew through being with Generation at the time, and I remember I think it was someone else on the Apex crew that we're watching you go out to the deadlift ladder, and they were privy to know what your training was like. And one guy made a comment. I think it was the guy they called. I don't know if it was the guy they called Scrappy or I forget. I forget who he was. But he goes, I go, how much do you think Brian is going to deadlift? And he goes, I have no idea because he never lifts that heavy. Was that true? Did you never lift heavy? Like, what did your workout look like? What was your training looking like up to when you found out you made it? Did it change? And what were you doing? Were you doing class wads? Were you doing extra barbell work? Like, tell me a little bit about that.
Back then?
Back then. Yeah, back then. Because I know it changed when you went to regionals and you smoked Ben Smith, because we all remember that. But or you smoked him in the games. It was in the game. I forget when it was, but you beat him in one of the workouts. Dude, I can't believe you don't remember that.
No, I don't know if that ever happened.
Man, I'm gonna play it back, man.
And if I did, that's awesome. I wish I remembered that.
What did your training look like back in the Logan days?
So I always did the class workout of the day, and maybe every once in a while something extra, but that was it. That's what I've always done. I mean, never. I think back when we went as a team, I might have done like 2, maybe possibly a 3rd workout of the day. Not like these guys do now. These guys are doing, 8 different, parts of workouts a day, the elite people. And that's what they need to do to be competitive. But no, I just maybe a workout of the day.
So were you doing many days of doubles and triples, or I was like maybe once or twice a week you would hit something like that?
Back then, maybe once or twice a week a double. But never often.
Because so that's what you were doing for there. And then do you remember what you placed at that regional in Logan, Ohio? I don't know if you remember, but do you?
It wasn't good. I tore my meniscus a week before doing a 400-meter run with 155 pounds on my back. And just stepping and turning, I tore my meniscus. And not that that's an excuse, but it made it tough for the run, and and a couple other things that we had to do with the squat. Again, not that that's an excuse, but I know I placed maybe 17th or something like that.
Yeah. So you didn't get a game spot that year. So the next year you made it to regionals as an individual, and I remember that being at the Prince George complex in that was in DC.
Yeah.
And that was the next year, and I remember going there. I was with the generation team, and you went individual. Now you didn't qualify for the games that year, but your gym did as a team? Is that what happened? Was that your first year as a team going to the games?
No, the first year as a team was the next year,
Okay.
2012.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It,
No, so that year, I think I placed a little bit better at regionals, but there was a couple things that just weren't in my wheelhouse, and I forget what they were. But we didn't have a team. It was I went as an individual for regionals, and then Emily Pale went as an individual.
gotcha.
And it was like her first competition, and I think she placed like 4th or something.
Yeah, I remember that. She was she was quite an athlete. So what was the not the year of Prince George, it was the following year that you guys had assembled a team that made it to the games in Carson.
Right.
How was that so
that was the year that I made it as an individual as well. So the team that we had go made it as a team.
Gotcha. And you went as an individual.
Yeah.
Were you trying to coach them also as you were competing, or was that like, yo, I'm competing, you guys are competing, or like how was that relationship going into the games that year?
It was tough because our schedules were a little bit different. So it was hard for me to be there and coach them. I mean, we met up a lot. They were all like friends of mine at the time. But yeah, it was tough. I wish I would have been able to be with them more, but I had a really good opportunity to be out there myself, and that was fun.
Oh yeah. So how was that? I remember I had this conversation with Sean, and I talked to him about the year Prince George was the first year Reebok had taken over. And I remember the CEO of Reebok being at registration, signing you in. They gave you that blue T-shirt. At least the team competitors got that blue Reebok T-shirt. To this day, it's one of my favorite T-shirts. I'm like, yo, that shit's sick. But how did it change? Because I've never been to the games even as a spectator. I've seen it on TV, but like when you went to the games, how did it change from that first year? Like, were you like, oh shit, this is a big deal, or was it like kind of the same? Like, what was that experience like?
Well, I remember what I was thinking, and coming from, so I started doing CrossFit late 2009, right? Yes, so late 2009, I started doing CrossFit, and then just tried to do like every single competition I could like get my hands on. Like so much fun, had a blast. Like the people I was doing it with at the time were awesome. And then you go to like sectionals, you have sectionals, and you have regionals at the time were such a blast. And then Reebok stepped in, and you got worried that like, oh, your favorite band just went like, just went mainstream, and you're kind of like, what's gonna happen? And then I made the games in 2012 as an individual, and I was like, fuck, man, this is like a big production. It's like out in Carson. Like, I wonder if it's gonna be lame, if it's gonna be like. You know what I mean? Like, how do I have to just do all this stuff for like, and they had a lot of media stuff that you had to do, and like, you kind of felt like, CrossFit's selling out, like. So you had that feeling going into it. The coolest thing was when they announced that first workout of the triathlon out in the Marine Corps base that was out there. When they announced that, I was like, oh fuck yeah. And they were like, you can't have coaches there, there's going to be no media there, it's pretty much you guys were dropping you off in the ocean, and you were just like, holy shit, Matt, it was exactly what I wanted to hear. You know what I mean? Like, you're like,
were you swimming before that? Like, when you heard that workout announced, I mean, they gave you a single speed bike, correct? That's the bike that's sitting in your lobby.
Yeah.
Like, what were you thinking when they announced that event?
Yo, man, the only thing I can express was extreme gratitude that I was there.
Yeah.
And like, I was just pumped to do fun workouts. Fun workouts around those people was like, that was the shit. It's my first time there. I didn't have any dreams of winning the CrossFit Games, I was just pumped to like get after this stuff with like
Mm-hmm.
the best people in the world.
Oh yeah.
So cool. Like that was the coolest thing I was, and that was the thing I was most excited for. I had a letdown because I ruptured my Achilles on that triathlon with the running portion. The running portion was the last of it. So I had like a fired up ankle for the rest of the time I was out there. So it wasn't like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like a little bit of wind out of your sail. It wasn't.
Didn't know
It wasn't.
that.
Yeah.
So you had a
Yeah, it wasn't
ruptured.
completely off.
So you went through the entire rest of the games with an injured Achilles.
With an injured Achilles. It wasn't completely ruptured and detached, but my calcaneus was fractured and it was ruptured a little bit. So it wasn't terrible. I could still get around, but it wasn't like, you know what I mean? Like you just wanted that full experience from it.
Oh
So I was
yeah.
kind of let down a little bit, but it was still, man, it was amazing. And to be out there swimming and like you're swimming, you're running with the bike, you're biking, and then you run like 8 miles through these like mountains in California, like unreal.
Yeah. Let me ask you something. When you've been at the games a couple years now, did you ever and from a regular fitness person that I consider myself at that time and now, and I think like you're a pretty good athlete. Like I'm watching you work out, I'm seeing your scores on workouts. I'm like, damn man, that dude's fucking good. Did you happen to see anyone that you're like, that girl or that guy, they're friggin' impressive. Like that is impressive right there. Like, did you think about that? Like, not the, of course we know who won, but like, was there anyone that stuck out to you or like, shit, that's awesome?
Yo, all those people.
I know.
You know what I mean, man? If you made it there, like all those people, the freaks, like they're all a bunch of freaks. Yo, and back then is when they had people like Age of Bardo, who's like 6'6", like, and he's doing this shit, and he's like keeping up with like. Then you had Austin Malleolo standing next to Age of Bardo, like you know what I mean? Like it was just a bunch of freaks, like.
Yeah.
But everyone was like magic, man. Like these people can do some cool shit.
Oh.
Yeah, everybody.
Everybody. It's crazy to watch those guys. Did you have like a favorite CrossFitter? I had this conversation with Sean, and I know who he picked. And actually, like my guy, and he never materialized to be that much, but my favorite guy to watch train, listen to his interviews was Miko, man. Like yeah. That was my dude. Like, did you have anyone like that? You're like, yeah, I like that dude. He's solid, man. He's a good.
I like that dude. Miko early on, Miko Salo. But Ben Smith, like, and I don't even know the dude, but like talking to him the little bit that I did, I've known his dad just from like seeing him at regionals and stuff. That dude, that dude's probably my favorite dude. That's a dude I'd root for. You know what I mean? Like humble and quiet and like works harder than anybody else.
I forgot all about that. That Ben Smith's dad used to hang around the entire time. I remember that at regionals everywhere.
Just a nice dude. Like knew your name. Like you know what I mean? Like.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, he was like that dad in youth sports that was like everyone's favorite dad, man. He had like, you knew he had the best kid, but he also liked everyone else. Like he was like everyone's like, you're like, yo, that guy, he's awesome, man. I really like him.
And he's got those little orange wedges, like.
Yeah, man.
Do
you take that bike out anymore, man, or it just sits in the lobby?
No, it's a pain. Yeah, it's just one speed. So it doesn't even work that well.
It's not even fun to ride. I see now that I bought last year, I had bought myself a road bike, and I started biking a little bit, and I'm watching these other guys on these hybrid bikes, which obviously have less gears, and I'm like, wow, why would I ever ride another bike, man? Those things are hard. Wait, what's that?
Are you talking about the electric bikes, the hybrid bikes?
No, the hybrid bikes that are kind of like a road bike and a trail bike. So they're like, they're nice bikes, but they just don't have as many gears or thin enough tires because they got to go off-road. They got to stay on the road. And those things like kind of like a mountain bike. And I'm like, yo, those are hard to ride, like compared to a road bike. And they were making you guys do, was the triathlon distance Olympic, or was it like, how far was that bike ride on a single speed bike?
It was an 800-meter ocean swim and then an 8-mile bike. But most of that bike, you were running with the bike on your shoulder in the sand. And then it was an 8-mile run through the mountains. I was like the furthest shit I ever did.
Yeah,
Like,
man. I was like, damn, that's crazy. Dude,
people were camping up on the side of the trail, like on the run. Like guys were just laying on the ground on the. It was like.
what was? Do you remember? Do any workouts stick out to you, or like, yo, that was the hardest shit I've ever been through? Like any workouts that you and workouts maybe that you probably wouldn't repeat ever again. Does anything stick out?
Not at the games. Yeah, like I was elated to do that triathlon. Like I was just pumped. I was like, yeah, you're running by people that like you've been watching videos on forever. You know what I mean? You're like swimming next to like Annie Thor's daughter. Like it was just cool. You know what I mean? Like you're like not like starstruck, but you're just like, this is the shit.
Oh
You know?
yeah, oh yeah.
And after that triathlon and with my ankle, I really there's nothing I could really do to like push the limits and be like, wow, that was the hardest workout ever. You know what I mean? Like it was kind of, but yeah, dude, you know what workout I never want to do again?
What's that?
That 7-minute AMRAP of burpees.
Oh yeah, in the open. Yeah.
Yo, I've been saying that from day one since I started CrossFit. The worst workout you ever do, boring as hell, is just sitting with burpees for 7 minutes.
Yeah. That was the first year. That was the first year I did the open. That was like, hey, listen, everyone could do the open. It's fun. Then they put 7 minutes of burpees, and you're like, that's awful. Everyone can do it, but that's awful. And then they started getting harder and harder. But that workout was terrible.
Yeah, that workout was terrible.
It was bad.
I like the one they did the following year, where it was a mix of that and the snatch, where the snatch went up in weight, and you did the burpees up. I like that one.
Yeah, no, that was a fun one. So let me ask you, what kind of information are you guys getting about reopening? What are your plans?
So we're Pennsylvania, right? We can't reopen until the governor puts us in the green zone.
How far away are you guys? We're far. Bucks County is far. We're the worst county.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're bad. We're bad.
How do you know how far it is?
Because since we're in the green, so it's there's been some statistics and maps as far as the frequency of the virus popping up, and Bucks County seems to be on the high end, and you know, the places out by like Pittsburgh, Allegheny seem to be opening up soon. So there is no dates. There is no dates. It's when your county reaches a certain level of sicknesses relative to the population. That's when you're allowed to be green. They're going to open you back up. So right now, there is no date for us. We just know that we're not May 8th. May 8th was supposed to be Pennsylvania was going to start opening up, and the colored zones are dictated by the cases. So I didn't know where Westchester was in that map, but there is a map on Governor Wolf's site that'll show you the counties and the towns and what color they are right now. But
Okay.
we're far, man. We don't get let go to the green, and I'm assuming at the earliest we're May 21st, but I'm thinking more like Memorial Day weekend, June 1st is probably what we're looking at.
Wow,
And it's crazy, right?
yeah, man. I don't know. I have my opinions about it. Pretty strong opinions, but I try to keep it to myself.
Yeah. No, I know.
I'm not going to open up until they say you can open up.
Yeah.
But you know, I might just let people come in and use the equipment and stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
keep it small numbers, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's the best. That's the best you could do. I've been working with another affiliate owner in our county, just going over some, you know, when we are allowed to open up some best practices, because the information is average at best out there as far as what you should be doing, and social media has made it worse. You know,
Yeah.
I think it made this whole thing worse as far as the fear mongering and you know, what's going on in regards to the virus. You get the governor saying one thing, and then depending on what social media outlet you go to, the verbiage changes up, and then you end up, well, we're back at square one. We have no idea what's going on. It's frustrating, but I know people like you, people like myself, and a couple other CrossFit gym owners that I keep in my network because of my friends are going to be fine. You know, we're going to do the right things. You know, we're going to be able to open up. and be successful again. But I feel bad for a lot of gyms out there, man, because they're not going to make it, you know, and it's going to be a different world. You know, there's one guy, here's one thing to look forward to. And we could close on this, cause I can keep you on the phone forever, but I hear my kids upstairs. They're like waiting to come get me. I was like, yo, daddy's in the studio right now. You know, so there's one guy, I haven't told too many of my athletes about this, but this one guy, he was an investor. He offered me cash for my gym about a week after we closed, right? So he calls me up randomly, and I pick up the phone, and he's like, his name was John, and he goes, you know, I'm an investor. My name's John, whatever. I'm an investor. He owns like 30 businesses. They're all small businesses. And what he does is he injects capital for ownership or partial ownership of your business. And so he offered me a number for the gym. And I just wanted to hear what he was going to say. I would never leave my gym. And I was like, nah, we're not even the same ballpark, man. So then he offered me a bigger number. I just wanted to play along with it. And I'm like, wow, that's a big number, but like, no, not yet. And then I was like, it's funny that you're calling me and you assume that I need your money because we're struggling, and we're not. You know, it's like, not like we're killing it, but we're not struggling. We're going to make it. And I was like, why are you calling me? Like, how'd you even get my number? And what he said was, he's calling, I was the second person he called that day, and I was the first person to pick up. So what he was doing was he was offering CrossFit gyms cash for a percentage of ownership, because the reason why is because he thought most CrossFit gyms are in need of capital right now, and most of them are not financially sound, especially some of the ones that only been open for 2 or 3 years. So what he told me was, he's like, I'm willing to invest that much money because after this is all over, I feel like the health and fitness industry in general is going to have a spike. And the spike, is going to be bigger than any New Year's resolution you've ever experienced. Because like my thought was, this is going to be like that oh shit moment where people that escape the virus are going to be like, I got to take care of myself. Now, maybe I don't go to a CrossFit gym, but maybe I do. Or maybe I go to that gym, or maybe I get this nutrition coach, and people are going to start taking their health and fitness a little bit more serious after this. I've never seen so many people outside being active, ever.
Crazy, right?
You know? So, I mean, I said no, but I had a good conversation with the dude. I had him on the phone for like another hour because he's a business analyst. I mean, the guy follows trends, and he obviously knows what he's doing. He owns a bunch of businesses. He at Small World, he actually, my son does jujitsu. He does jujitsu at my son's studio. So we've never met before. And when we go back, we will meet. I haven't met him yet because obviously the jujitsu studio is closed, but you know, I'm going to keep him in my network and, keep on talking to him and stuff. Cause he was actually a really, really smart guy. And after the initial shock of almost offending me that I needed that much money to stay alive, we became cool and stuff. But yeah, I think this is a good thing. I think we're going to see, our gyms go to another level, and I just think it's all good from here on out. I really do.
Yeah, man. I think we just gotta roll with it and adapt yep. And overcome. Like, we talked a little bit about what is your specific demographic need, and as long as you're an owner that's in constant pursuit of that, what do your people need? And if you're in service to them, and you're truly in service to them and care about them, you're gonna find that you're gonna adapt and you're gonna do well.
Oh yeah, totally, man. Well, listen, Brian, I really appreciate you coming on today and having this conversation with me. All right, man. And dudes like you, this shouldn't end between us, man. We should keep in contact. And I know I reach out to you anytime. You answer me back within seconds, and we're cool. But I'm gonna come back out and visit. I want to extend the invitation to you. And down the road, when all this stuff is over, let's get back on and do more of this, man. I think it's good for the community. I think it's good for the whole profession in general, hearing professionals talk and things like that, man. So I hope you're game for that, which I think you are.
Always, dude. Yeah.
All right, brother, man. All right, you too, homie. I'll talk to you later.
Later, man.
See ya.